All right, it's a good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of TVC Breakfast. I am Veronica Dan Ifoy, and this morning Ibrahim Shita joins me once again. Ibrahim.
Good morning to you, Veronica.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here this morning. We have a number of issues to look at this morning, from Edu 2024 to the matter of some 25 political parties
looking to get registered by
interest to be part of the process of our elections, perhaps in 2027, hopefully. And then we are also going to look through the papers this morning to also address some other issues and also talk about the incident that happened in Ogun State, the Gateway Polytechnic. We'll be talking with a government official from there. All right, but this morning we will begin with this from the UK, where it's sour news for Nigerians who may want to migrate to the United Kingdom, as the UK government plans to introduce measures to reduce the number of people coming into the country. Home Secretary James Cleverly says the measures would include hiking the minimum salary needed for skilled overseas workers from £26 to £100 to £38,700, which could prevent employers from paying, while care workers will be barred from bringing in dependents from next April. The migration plan comes after official figures last month showed net migration had soared to a record 745,000 in 2022. Wow. Ibrahim, this is not going to be music to the ears of some persons who have plans to migrate with their families, if they haven't done that before this is implemented. And it's quite, worrisome, but the UK government has a right to put measures in place to address migration issues if it's affecting them. Because I recall, I think sometime last year, where the government was talking about how the matters of healthcare was not readily available to its citizens, and because of the number of persons who have migrated to the country, and then there were issues of persons not having the right papers in place. We recalled the reports where some Nigerians were talking about how it is that they had to look for measures to stay in the UK because they had sold everything they had, and the agents that helped them, just did what they can, and right now they do not have jobs. And so the country is putting measures in place to ensure the system works.
That's right. A lot of people are actually looking to move into the European continent, some wanting to move to the UK, others are also saying they want to get to the US. Even people are even moving as far as, some other countries where go to Uruguay, Nicaragua, and some other countries where...
Yes, Nigerians have been asking questions. So why this attention to the UK? Why not look elsewhere? Australia and all of those.
Even some countries that are not as good as Nigeria, some people want to move as long as it's out of the country. What we're talking about, those who are affected by Nigerians that are affected by the immigration changes, policy changes by the United Kingdom. But all the same, if you look at the Office of the National Statistics, median gross annual earnings for full-time employees in the UK, which were £34,963 in April. So they are saying that you can't move your family, your spouse, or you can't live in the UK if you don't have up to 38,000. If you're not earning up to 38 pounds, you have to show that you're earning or that you have, and then you can fend for yourself before your spouse thinks of joining you. So it's really putting a strain on a whole lot of people, and they're thinking, how are we going to survive these new policy changes? What they're also they are thinking of, tightening measures. Remember, they tried to open up after the COVID-19 pandemic because they had a lot of people who died. They needed people to fill up, some job spaces. They opened the borders to the Ukrainians after they, following the fighting between Russia and Ukraine. They also allowed some immigrants to move in, for the sake of asylum. But when they see that the influx is getting too much, they decided to, tighten their own, to make it stricter for people who are coming in. So that's it about the country. We can't blame them. We can't say this is the reason. I mean, we can't say, if they say this is the reason why we are doing what we're doing, we can't blame them. It's their own country. They know what they're going through. I also read somewhere, sometime earlier this week, I think in, can't remember the name of the place. Is it Dublin or Berlin, where some of their citizens were fighting, not fighting, attacking blacks because they felt that they are burden on their government. So they wanted them to leave.
Then buses were burnt?
Yes, exactly. Buses were burnt as a result of that. So you could see that, you can't blame people for migrating. It's part of human nature. We move right from the, from the days of Adam and Eve, when God sent them down from the Garden of Eden, paradise, because they ate the forbidden fruit. So that was migration. And then the migration had, continue over time.
You can't stop people from migrating. No matter how stringent they put these measures,
That's right.
people will still find a way around it because they want to migrate.
That's right.
But I think the major lesson here is for governments of various countries to ensure that they put that the system works,
That's right.
bottom line, such that people are not running out of your country, except for perhaps marriage purposes, where people get married from various countries, and then you want to school outside the country, for instance, and you must have the money, because there's the proof of funds to ensure that you have the required amount of money for your education. They wouldn't want you to be a burden to them, the system, and anyone else. So it is, the lesson here basically is for governments to put measures in place to ensure that their system works as much as possible. We see where we are losing a number of qualified workers leaving the country in droves. Yesterday we saw in the papers where ASU was lamenting that their qualified lecturers were leaving the country.
That's right.
As it is. And this is not just lecturers. We are also seeing this in the health sector, where a qualified number of doctors, nurses, medical personnel are actually leaving the country. So, and this is not just in Nigeria. We see also in other African countries where there are issues, for instance, like war, crisis here and there. We see some people migrating, illegally, to the extent of going
illegal routes,
illegal
Libya
routes.
and all of that,
Yes.
regardless
So
of the harrowing
just
experience
because they want to leave those countries where there is seemingly instability. Right. So as much as possible, it's for countries to ensure that there is some level of stability where people can thrive, businesses can thrive, education thrives, whatever it is thrives. And so the people would want to stay back and, just ensure that there is some level of growth and businesses, and the country moves forward to the destination it desires.
That's right. The ministers, they've actually ministers in the UK, they've actually come under pressure to act on legal migration after official figures show that, the net migration in 2022 hit a record 745,000. That's according to the data. So Rishi Sunak has described that current migration levels as far too high. So for anyone, most people who are wanting to move to the UK will still have to apply for a visa through a point-based system. That's what they call the PBS. But of spring 2024, they will have to have a job offer with a higher salary in order to get a work visa. And you can't really.
So it means that some persons might have to leave the UK.
That's
right. There might be massive deportation of persons. Perhaps.
There might not be.
I use the word might.
Might, yeah.
Might. Because if you do not meet up to what is required, why are you here?
And that's, for instance, what they experience some immigrants are having in the UAE, Dubai precisely, that if you are not able to renew your visa, then you have to leave the country. If your employer is not also able to renew your visa, they can't keep you, then you have to go.
Need to move.
So I'm not sure whether UK might want to get to that level, because they've always positioned themselves as, yes, we are people lover, we allow people to
love
come
families
in,
and all of those.
we allow people to thrive and all of that. Maybe those who are already in, they would have some subtle way of dealing with that. But people who are coming in, they probably will
meet up with what is required.
That, just like going through the
eyes of the needle.
I know one of these Nigerians who had the BBC interview then, saying that Nigerians are jackpying and all of that, so to speak. The guy has also been brought under fire again, something that we thought, had simmered. They already started saying, it's because of what this person said, and that's why we are having to face, this.
Of course, we can't rule out the fact that statements here and there that people make is not also fueling some of these things. Because if you see, I mentioned earlier a report that was, I think, done either by the BBC, where we saw that some Nigerians did not necessarily have the job required and did not have a space to stay because the job they came for, as they were helped by their agents, did not work out at the end of the day, and they insisted that they were not going to go back to the country, come back to Nigeria, because they had sold everything as it is. And you know how it is, the backlash, what people will think about you, just coming back from the UK and all of it. So it's a myriad of issues that they have seen, aside the number, how it is that some people do not still have the needed requirement and are still struggling to stay. And it is, the system needs to work such that everybody benefits. And so if it's not helping them, they have to look for measures to shake things up and ensure some level of balance. So we can only wish those who want to move to the UK the very best, as it is. All right, let's bring you the news update.